Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniatures. It's Friday, and if you haven't heard me say this a million times, because I say it every Friday, it's time for some Obscurities in literature. And today I bring to you the Duel Masters Koshiki Legend book, or like it says right here, literally in English, the official legend book. I had to double check that kanji. I wasn't 100% sure. In case you don't know, Duel Masters is a very long-running game in Japan, originally based off of mechanics from none other than Magic the Gathering, which is funny because often, this one doesn't have it. Usually they have something about Wizards of the Coast trademarked on there, but this one doesn't. This is the official legend book, not the knockoff legend book or the mythological book. I don't know. So it irks me because for as long running as Duel Masters has been, and yeah, I know it's had a couple flash in the pans of trying to make it big in the US, and it never really seemed to go anywhere. It has steadily churned on in Japan for years and years and years and years. And as of my knowledge, this is the only art book that has been published officially of artwork from the cards. And to me, the Duel Masters stuff, especially as the years have gone by, has become some of the coolest art. And obviously, a lot of the artists that were involved started branching out into doing stuff with like Vanguard when that got big, and who knows what other countless trading card games that have been a big deal over the years. But this actually isn't a book, it's a slipcase. So let's talk about what's in this slipcase. First of all, we have the official art book, but then there's also a little artwork technique by 4 of the big 5, or at least I know 3 of these. Takayama Toshiaki and Izuka Daisuke are 2 of the big artists involved, and it goes into a lot of the techniques that they use. This probably isn't going to be very helpful or informative for anybody who does not speak Japanese. My son went through it and found it wasn't the most useful either, and he can't actually read the stuff. Artwork sure is pretty, though, for as much of a Get a Robo knockoff as that is. And that's the thing. This book, this series of cards, more than anything, I don't know how many years. So my son got into this when he was in probably towards the end of elementary school. He's in high school now. But we used to play this a lot. So I had to learn how to play a lot of this in Japanese. Used to see a lot of these cards. Some of the artists would do these big, like, multi-part spreads like this. The Izuka guy is a very famous one for doing just that. Like 4 to 6 to 9 card spreads. But the artwork is just gorgeous, and we would both sit there and lament the fact while we were playing that no real figures existed of any of this stuff. And my God, if I could ever talk any sculptor into trying to come up with figures that look like the stuff on the covers of these books, I would absolutely wholeheartedly endorse and encourage it. I love this stuff. It's just crazy looking. So here we can see a timeline of when it started, 2002. So we're going on almost 20 years of this game now. And all of the various variant dragons. So we start out with some of the newer stuff. The Bull Shacks, always have been a big thing. The Rupia, I know this guy. I think we had most of the cards that made up this set. But again, just crazy detailed monster artwork. And to me, that's the highlight of any game. It would drive me nuts with games like Yu-Gi-Oh! Where, all the spells are super powered. And here's some really old ones. That's like from the very first set. Some of that we saw in the US. The Deathlighter. And I think if you appreciate fantasy monster art, there's a lot to really enjoy here. The game always had this interesting fusion of sci-fi, fantasy elements that only, the Japanese really seem to, I shouldn't say only the Japanese, but the Japanese really seem to get that style. There's plenty of artists all over the world that have continued. That's when they started doing the vegetable kingdoms. Shaman broccoli. And muscle potato. Who doesn't want to fight with stuff like that? Jagastar. One of the early rainbow cards. I'm guessing that, yes, if you notice, there's a color next to each of the illustrations showing what faction they are for. And again, I would absolutely adore getting models of stuff like this. Some of it is a little bit more easily translated to the tabletop than other pieces. Again, this book is still very limited in what it actually covers. And considering just how many sets the game has had, this is still, as far as I know, the only actual art book. Now, there have been other books, don't get me wrong. There have actually been quite a few. I'll show you some of those in a sec. Very big, grandiose. See, I would love to have crazy stuff like this. Big, fancy ornamental dragons with too many limbs and laser swords and gun hands. And they had Forte and Beckham from Penguin de Monde. Beckham. Yeah, so a lot of fun stuff in this book here. But as I was saying, see, I would have loved to have seen more of this kind of stuff. This, to me, would have been invaluable, seeing the artist's early sketches that they were coming up with as they were designing this stuff. Considering the pedigree of the artists involved, they've done a lot, and I mean an absolute lot. When year did this come out? 2009. So yeah. Oh, there's the... Yep, Wizards of the Coast, like I was saying. So, as I mentioned, yeah, it's not the only book. I mean, they've been putting out Duel Master, like, card books for some time. I had to steal this in. That should look familiar, because that was in the other book. But just... it's not the same when you're looking at the card versions. And some of these are really, really crammed in here, like all the various promo stuff. There's some very neat and interesting designs. It, like I said, my son has been, well, used to when we were able to actually travel to Japan, been into it for quite some time. I know he got to the point where he was collecting a bunch of the promo cards that he was getting from various places. Koro Koro Comic obviously being one of them. These are all characters that are from the magazine. Oh boy, Dangerous G-Sun. Some of these I recognize from him reading. Pozodora. Zombie-kun. That's a fun one. Some of this stuff looks familiar. Again, just really fun designs. Of course, so this stuff is impossible to get in the US. I know he's got a couple of really rare ones. They get very crazy ornamental with the foil and prismatic decorative bits. Man, we haven't played this in a long time. Oh, that's like a lenticular card. Check that out. That's kind of crazy. Now they did a couple multi-part cards. I'm looking at it the wrong way. Manzaido Ryuzaku. Now, ideally, what we would see is something more along the lines. I would love to see something more like the Magic the Gathering art books. And I mean, I don't know. There's a market. I've seen the actual, Magic books in Japan, in Japanese. Ixalan being one of our favorites, just due to the crazy vampire conquistadors fighting the Aztec dinosaurs covered in feathers. I don't know if this has every card in it. If you guys actually want me to go ramble on about all these Art of the Magic the Gathering books, there's some really cool stuff in there, and they're usually pretty reasonably priced. But that's getting somewhat tangentially off topic. Because like I said, as far as I know, this is the only official art book available for Duel Masters, whereas I don't even know how many of these Magic the Gathering art books I've got. I've got at least 6 or 7 of them at this point, if not more. I know my kid, we were really into playing Ixalan when it came out, and Zendikar 2, and whatever set had the Godzilla cards in it, and maybe even the 40k stuff, I can talk him into it. But anyways, I digress. I'll put a link down below. I know this book seems to stay regularly in stock, and if you have access to Amazon Japan, I know we just had a bunch of books come in the other day. Shipping wasn't even that bad. So I'll put a link to Amazon, and if you're really interested, then maybe they'll have something there that strikes your fancy. With that said, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and as we gaze upon cool-looking mecha dragons one more time, hope to see you back here soon. Bye-bye!